prosperity in chains.
Release the markets or else.
They rigged the market because Orange Man bad.
The Fed Conspiracy, in theaters now.
Jerome Powell's days are numbered. President Trump just dropped the hammer on the Federal Reserve, announcing the Fed chair will be gone in a few months. After yesterday's desperate rate cut failed to mask economic reality, Trump made it crystal clear we are going to go back to the way it used to be. No more market manipulation, no more fake soft landings, no more unelected bureaucrats controlling America's money. The Fed just admitted subprime auto defaults are surging. The balance sheet reduction is ending. They're pumping liquidity back into a dying system, and Powell knows it's over. Wall Street knows it's over. The only question is who Trump picks to drain the monetary swamp. Well, the revolution starts now, my friends. And while Powell's Fed destroys your purchasing power and Trump prepares to clean house, there is one investment that actually extends your life. C60 Evo, the Nobel Prize-winning molecule that made lab rats live 90% longer? Yeah, think about that. See, the Fed promises economic vitality while delivering death by inflation. This molecule delivers actual longevity. My brain fog disappeared. Joint pain I battled for years virtually eliminated. My wife's skin looks a decade younger. We feel 20 years younger. This isn't snake oil. It is 172 times more powerful than vitamin C. The scientist behind it, Chris Burris, he has manufactured this in his Houston lab since 1991. The Paris study showed the longest life extension ever recorded. So while the Fed prints your wealth away, C60 Evo adds years to your life. So visit c60evo.com/NNN for exclusive savings. Use code NNN at checkout because living 90% longer beats any Fed policy. Make sure you use NNN when you check out. So for the second time this year, Nick Sortor reports, the Federal Reserve has cut interest rates by 0.25%. This brings rates to 3.75 to 4%. And it should have been done a long time ago.
The markets have been... Okay, Fox News alert. We've got that key interest rate decision. It is out now. The Federal Reserve cutting interest rates by 25 basis points. That's a quarter point. And the markets have been rallying into this decision. The Dow up 150 points right now at another record high, although there's a bit of sell-off happening on the news, as does sometimes happen. Welcome to another hour of America. Okay.
The Federal Reserve delivered their second constructive interest rate reduction to support a softening labor market. Said they would stop shrinking the central bank's portfolio of assets on December 1st. Here's Bloomberg TV.
Target range to 3. A divided Fed cuts their benchmark lending rate by a quarter percentage point and says they are going to end QT December 1st. There are two dissents as policymakers reset the target range to 3.75% and 4%. No surprise, Stephen Byron dissents in favor of a 50 basis point cut as President Trump wants. And Kansas City Fed President Jeffrey Schmidt dissents on the other side in favor of no move. The Fed's administered rates for interest on reserves and the primary credit rate mechanically decreased by a quarter percentage point along with the Fed funds target. As for the balance sheet, the Fed will stop redeeming maturing Treasury securities at the end of November. Principal payments will be rolled over going forward. The mortgage cap of $35 billion a month remains in place, but as of December 1st, all principal payments on maturing agencies will be reinvested in Treasury bills. Fed officials gave a nod to the government shutdown in their economic assessment, noting that, quote, available indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a moderate pace. Job gains have slowed this year, the statement says, and the unemployment rate has edged up but remained low through August. More recent indicators are consistent with these developments. They changed the tense on the balance of risks, noting downside risks to employment rose in recent months instead of have risen. And uncertainty about the economic outlook remains elevated, they say. There is no change to their forward guidance. The statement still says in considering additional adjustments to the target rate, they will consider many factors. Guys? A divided Fed.
Yes, Grok, Grok is here. Yes, at today's Fed press conference, Chair Powell noted rising defaults in subprime auto loans, but said they don't indicate broader credit issues amid a 25 basis point rate cut. That's according to the Fed Register. Fed Chair Powell on an AI bubble myth. Powell says in the presser, unlike the dot-com era when many were just ideas, today's companies have real earnings and real profits. In today's FOMC, the Fed cut rates by 0.25 and to 3.75 to 4, citing moderate growth, slowed job gains, and elevated inflation. Powell highlighted risen employment risk, future moves, data-dependent balance sheet runoff ends on December 1st. Here's President Trump.
To go up, not to. We're going to go back to the way it used to be. When we announce good news, the stock markets are going to go up. And that's the way it should be. And we're going to really ride that very hard. And when we announce good news, we're not going to have a Fed that's going to raise interest rates because they're worried about inflation in 3 years from now or something. When we announce good news, we want the stock market to go up, not to go down. And
we want the stock market to go up. And 24 hours ago, President Trump says, I'll be replacing Fed Chair Jerome Powell.
Jerome, I call him too late. He's always too late. He's been too late. And Jerome, too late Powell. So somebody gave me a bad reference on him. I put him in based on some guy that turned out to be not so hot. And we got a bad Fed guy, but he'll be out of there a few months. And we'll get somebody new. I guess, Scott, you have a long list of people that want it. If anybody has any suggestions, because we really do, we have, all the people that are being talked to. If you have a suggestion, just shout it out. Just shout it out. Mark, do you have a suggestion? Mark has some pretty good suggestions. You put me on the cover of Time magazine. That was a nice picture. Thank you very much for that. That was very good. It was a nice story, too. Thank you very much. I've been on the cover almost 50 times, but Mark, I can only use 17 of them. Meaning the rest of them aren't so good. 17 are great. This one was very good. This is going up. Now I have 18. Thank you very much. I'll see you in a little while. I call him too late. He's always too late. He's been too late. And Jerome, too late Powell.
Jerome, too late Powell. Too late. Well, here is Jerome, too late Powell.
Dual mandate goals. My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and stable prices for the benefit of the American people. Although some important federal government data have been delayed due to the shutdown, the public and private sector data that have remained available suggests that the outlook for employment and inflation has not changed much since our meeting in September. Conditions in the labor market appear to be gradually cooling, and inflation remains somewhat elevated. In support of our goals and in light of the balance of risks to employment and inflation, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by 1/4 percentage point. We also decided to conclude the reduction of our aggregate securities holdings as of December 1. I will have more to say about monetary policy after briefly reviewing economic developments. Available indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a moderate pace. GDP rose at a 1.6% pace in the first half of the year, down from 2.4% last year. Data available prior to the shutdown show that growth in economic activity may be on a somewhat firmer trajectory than expected, primarily reflecting stronger consumer spending. Business investment in equipment and intangibles has continued to expand, while activity in the housing sector remains weak.
Yeah,
the shutdown of the federal government will weigh on economic activity while it persists, but these effects should reverse after the shutdown ends.
Just end the frickin' Fed already, man. Like, seriously, end the Fed. The Fed isn't managing inflation anymore. It's managing illusion. Jerome Powell stands there pretending to be a calm voice of control while everyone from Trump to Wall Street knows the system is barely holding together. Talk about soft landings like it's science, but it's really just guesswork with trillion-dollar consequences. The truth is Powell and his team are trapped. If they raise rates, they break the debt machine that keeps the U.S. government and corporate America alive. If they cut rates, inflation roars back and exposes how fake the recovery really was. So they do what every empire does in decline, perform stability while everything beneath them cracks. The worst part is people like Yellen, even the big players at BlackRock and Goldman already know it. They're not trying to fix the system. They're just trying to make sure they own the collapse when it comes. The Fed isn't fighting for the economy anymore. It's fighting for the illusion that it still matters. That is a post by Intelligence. The Federal Reserve cutting interest rates, but it's time for them to just cut Jerome Powell's job for cause because they have it. Trump says Fed Chair Jerome Powell will be out in just a few months. Do you support Trump's plan to clean house at the Fed? Yes or no? Who should be the next Fed chair? I think we already know. Treasury Secretary Bissett. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is bigger than just replacing a bureaucrat. Trump's declaring war on the entire Federal Reserve System, the unelected fourth branch that's manipulated our money for over a century. Powell's pathetic rate cuts prove they've lost control. Subprime defaults climbing, banks hoarding cash, the soft landing narrative crashing harder than 29. But Trump sees the opportunity where others see chaos. While Powell plays monetary games, Trump's securing real production. Japan funding American shipbuilding, factories returning home, actual growth instead of printed prosperity. You see, the Fed thought they could manage America's decline, and Trump's about to show them what American resurgence looks like. No more worried about inflation 3 years from now. When Trump announces good news, markets will rise because the news is actually good, not because some academic in Washington pulled a lever. So here's the question. Who should Trump appoint to replace Powell? I say Congressman Paul. Ron Paul? Comment with your pick in the comment section. And we've got some Next News merch available. Links in the description. Check it out.